Hello again, denizens of the YouTubeverse. I'm going to do another episode of Occam's Barbershop where I use Occam's razor to shave all the fuzz off of the commentary on an issue and bear it for all the world to see. What I'm going to go into today is the situation with Ukraine again, and the biggest issue that I see with people's evaluation of what's going on with Ukraine, Donald Trump, Volodymyr Zelensky, is that they approach it from their own set of assumptions, their own prejudices, and a lot of the media is just pure Trump Derangement Syndrome. See a lot of Trump is going to give Putin everything he wants. It's all over now. It's going to be a total victory for Russia in this situation. And that's just complete nonsense. If you look at what happened in the White House with the initial meeting, it was pretty straightforward. Zelensky showed up ostensibly to sign the deal for rare earths and exotic minerals sharing with the United States. But he had telegraphed a lot that he wasn't going to do that. So by the time he got there, Donald Trump already understood that there was going to be a problem, that this was going to turn into a show. Donald Trump commented on the way he was dressed when he arrived, nice outfit, basically saying nice costume. I thought the comment on Saturday Night Live was very apt. He showed up as Star Trek casual. But Donald Trump understood what was going on and what Zelensky had been doing for months and years is sort of a reality show way of presenting himself to the public. And Donald Trump understood that Zelensky was showing up to do a reality show, and that's what he was going to get. So when Zelensky arrived, he was telegraphing that he was not interested in any sort of peace deal with Russia. He said over and over, the Russians can't be trusted, Putin can't be trusted. What he had been shopping around Europe was a request for a massive boots on the ground effort from NATO. He had suggested 200,000 troops. Some others from Ukraine were saying 50,000 would be sufficient. The Europeans were saying we're not going to do anything unless the U.S. backstops the effort. And when NATO says the U.S. backstops the effort, what they mean is that the U.S. is going to carry all the weight. And the problem there is that NATO does not have the military power to effectively face off with Putin. They could probably do it if the Ukraine has been able to hold off for years against Russia. NATO should be able to do even better, but it would be a very brutal, difficult situation for them because they have not prepared militarily for years. Donald Trump has been demanding that they use at least 2% of their GDP on defense spending, and they didn't do it. The war has been going on for years. Europe has been supplying the Ukraine with weapons for years, but they have not opened a single new weapons manufacturing facility. They have not done anything to increase the supply of weapons that they can produce for themselves or for the Ukraine. So it's actually Europe that has been disappointing the Ukrainians, and Donald Trump has been saying we aren't going to carry all the weight for you. When the Europeans were talking about sending in peacekeeping forces, the U.S.'s response was let any country in NATO that has a military that can do that, do that. It's like you go right ahead, you put troops in. And the Europeans just had a conniption fit saying that the United States has abandoned their treaty obligations. Nothing is further from the truth. The biggest problem that Ukraine's been having since the start of the war has been with Europe, as is mentioned in this particular website. For almost the entire war, Western leaders have prevented Ukraine from striking back against Russian targets due to concerns over possible retaliatory measures from the Kremlin. This has allowed Russia to launch attacks against Ukrainian cities and civilian infrastructure with impunity, which is exactly the case. All along, the Europeans have been very carefully metering out the aid that they sent to the Ukraine to make sure that the Ukrainians didn't get too much and cause the Kremlin to get really agitated. At one point, Putin was threatening a nuclear response if the West were to supply the Ukraine with jet fighters, and the European response was, well, we can't let them have jet fighters, and we don't want to provoke the Kremlin too much. So all along, what the European attitude towards the war was, we want to make sure Russia doesn't win, and we don't want Ukraine to win either. We just want it to keep going on and on, maintain the status quo, beat our chests and pontificate about it, but we don't want to push it to a crisis point either way. The United States under Donald Trump has been saying, that's not going to happen anymore. Europe is going to have to step up, carry their weight, and do their part in dealing with the situation. Most recently, after the blow up with Zelensky at the White House, Zelensky went back to Europe, and the Europeans reiterated to him, you need the United States on your side. We're not going to do anything without the United States. So Zelensky sent a nice letter to Donald Trump saying he is willing to talk peace. He's ready to sign the deal regarding rare earths and minerals. And he even went to Saudi Arabia and offered a 30-day ceasefire, which is all Trump wanted all along. And it would be in Zelensky's best interest to sign that minerals deal immediately. So what's happened now is the whole world's view of this has suddenly shifted. They don't know what to think anymore, because now the ball is in the Kremlin's court and Putin's court. That's what Donald Trump wanted all along. Was Putin's been in his hunker down bunker mode and not responding to anything. Trump was not signaling that he was taking Putin's side. He was just approaching it in a way that would get Putin to pop up out of his hidey hole and engage. So he was saying things like, it's unrealistic to expect that Russia would have to give up Crimea. He didn't say it was out of the question. He said it was unrealistic. That leaves it open for the possibility that it could become realistic. The Russians have not really responded overtly. They're being very coy. Putin's reaction to the offer for the ceasefire was to visit the Kursk region and talk about how the Russians are going to push forward and completely drive out the Ukrainian forces. So he's sort of posturing with, he wants even more victory on the ground. He's trying to enhance his negotiating position. So now the ball is in the other court. Donald Trump was very aggressive with Volodymyr Zelensky to encourage him to fall in line, and now everybody's waiting to see, okay, what is going to happen now that it's the Russians that are being intransigent in the situation. Are they going to agree to this ceasefire, or are they going to have to get some nudging from Donald Trump? So we don't know what's going to happen yet. The Trump administration hasn't they've been very careful about not overtly signaling what they're going to do with Russia. That's been more behind the scenes. Like I said, Zelensky was going about it in a more of a reality TV way. Let's do it live on the air, whereas the Russians don't like to do that sort of thing, so Trump isn't doing it that way. It's still sort of behind the scenes, and like I said, we've seen a little posturing from Vladimir Putin about we're going to push forward militarily. So now we have commentaries where people are saying they're wondering what the next Trump administration move is going to be. It looked like to the commentators that Putin had Trump's ear, and now he's on the receiving end of the American president's demands. What's going to happen next? Same thing here, commentators talking about the Trump administration has done little to signal that it wants to give more Ukraine aid, but that's exactly the way you should approach this. Don't signal what you're going to do. Speak very, very, very softly and carry a big stick. So what is the administration going to do next? We have to wait and see. The problem that Russia has is their situation in the world is kind of tenuous. The war in Ukraine has degraded their abilities tremendously. And the most recently, one of the big problems they've had is they used to have naval presence in Syria. That was completely wiped out with the Syrian revolution and the takeover by the Islamic militants in the country. They allowed Russian airplanes to come in and take out people, but they did not allow Russian shipping come in to take out equipment. So I haven't been able to find any good assessments about what's going on there, but I think what's going on is that all of the Russian gear that was there has stayed there, sort of what happened with the US and Afghanistan. The Russians have been moving their fleet out of the Mediterranean because now that is a big problem. This presence in Syria gave them a way to project power outside of the Black Sea. So now they have the problem of if they want to get into the Mediterranean, they have to go through Turkey, basically, come through the straits there to get to the Mediterranean. And Turkey isn't going to allow that. So their range of being able to operate has decreased a lot. They've been sending ships out of the Mediterranean back up to the Baltic. I think a lot of their submarines have been sent back up that way. They have a problem in the Black Sea in that their big fleet, their flagship fleet in the Black Sea, has had to move away from Ukraine because the Ukrainians started destroying ships that were within range of their drones and cruise missiles. And the whole situation with Russia has been degrading. With Moldova, they have a corridor along the Moldavian border with Ukraine that they claim is Russian, and it has a lot of ethnic Russians that side with Russia, whereas most Moldovans are ethnic Romanians, and they want Moldova to be Romanian, basically. He also has a problem in Georgia with Ossetia and I can't think of the other, Ossetia, and then the other piece of land that's marked out over here. It's those are areas that Russia has basically occupied that are part of Georgia, and Georgia was a country that they invaded some years before they took Crimea from the Ukrainians. So the situation with Georgia is still, as they say, fluid, and Putin has been trying to make sure that the pro-Russian president of Georgia stays in place. He's got problems there. Azerbaijan, which was not in a position to oppose Russia at all, was very angry over an airliner being shot down some months ago. So there's some fractures showing there. So what we're seeing is that all around Russia, because they've degraded themselves so much in the Ukrainian war, their influence all around has been degraded as well. So if the United States has any decent intelligence and spy services, we could be making things worse for Russia in all of these areas, kind of degrading them further. So there could be a lot of pressure put on Russia to back off. One of the things that could happen now is the Russians have moved their fleets further away from the Ukraine to get them out of the range of Ukrainian missiles. And if I were an aggressive U.S. administration, what I would be doing is offering the Ukrainians intelligence about the exact location of Russian ships in the Black Sea. I believe the Ukrainians have missiles that can reach practically anywhere in the Black Sea area. The Russians would have to have all of their shipping quite some distance from Ukraine to get them out of the range of Ukrainian missiles. I think 2,000 kilometers or 2,000 miles, I don't remember which, but they have a very long range potential for hitting Russian shipping. It's just, do they have the targeting information? And if they were somehow to get exact targeting information, maybe the Black Sea fleet could be put in extreme peril or even destroyed. And like I said, if I were an aggressive American president, I would start playing all of these areas around Russia to degrade Putin's position even further. But we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. And I do hope that now that Donald Trump's attention is turned away from Volodymyr Zelensky, he can say, okay, look, they're coming at you with this peace proposal. Balls in your court. What are you going to pony up to show that you have a good faith willingness to end this war? I'm pretty sure Putin's response is his good faith willingness to end the war is with Russian victory, and there is nothing else that will make him happy. So then things get really, really dicey. The United States has already signaled to Europe, we don't want to get stuck in fighting a war with Russia in Europe. If anything would give the Chinese the red light to attack Taiwan, it would be that. If we're tied up fighting Russia, are we then going to be able to also fight a war with China and Taiwan? Not very likely we're going to be able to do that. So that is why it is imperative that Europe step up and deal with that part of the situation. They're the ones who have to face off with Russia, and there's nothing else that will work. There is some hope in Europe. Poland's military has been built up a lot. They're ready to face off with Russia. They're not, I don't know if they have any capability to actually advance towards Russia, but they are ready to put up a really, really rigorous defense against Russia. Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania are doing their best. They're very small countries, but they are prepared to fight. Sweden has sent troops to Latvia to build up Latvian military situation, which is brilliant on their part. Sweden has joined NATO Finland has joined NATO, and they are all very prepared to fight Russia. The problem is can they project power, or are they just in a defensive position? So lots of things, we're waiting to see how all of this plays out. If Europe does have to be the point of the spear in dealing with Russia, it's probably going to have to be Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland who bear the brunt of it. And hopefully the rest of Europe will be ready to backstop them when this happens. Europe has been not a very good partner to anybody in this situation. They just do a lot of complaining about how nobody's carrying the water for them. So we'll have to see how all of this plays out. I'm watching this. It's a fluid situation that's changing very quickly. And by the time I get this posted, could have changed dramatically again. But we'll see. And I will see you next time.